Hello everyone, this is Chava from Chava Wellness. Oh my goodness, you don't know people, I almost forgot that I have a live today, every Monday. I'm just going through so much in my life at this moment that it almost came out of my mind that we have an amazing meeting with my dear friend Natasha Trenev. Let me invite her, okay? Come join us. And I seriously... Please accept my apologies. I absolutely forgot that even today, Monday. But that's okay. As long as we're doing what we need to do, that's what matters. Okay, so let me invite Natasha. 1 minute. Questions? It will be amazing. Come learn about how to treat your microbiota, how restore your health. And here's my dear Natasha. Hello, my...
Hello. We're a little bit late, but
I
it's
know.
a
I
rainy day.
apologize, Natasha. First of all, I apologize because I forgot that even today is Monday. You know, I moved to a new apartment just 2 days ago, and you know, and it's everything so quickly happened in my life. You know, because unfortunately, you know what I've been through, and I
Yes,
I I finally left a home. I mean, 30-year relationship, so it's not easy. It's really not easy, but yeah, that's the life.
I know. Well, no, we're all here to support you. And, I thought maybe it was the weather because I've been having problems with my desktop. So we're here, let's, try to help as many people as we can. And that's why we're getting together, right?
I'm so happy that you that you really like been on top of it. Otherwise, I would forget. So I really appreciate, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. And when you texted me, I'm like, it's Natasha's birthday today, so I sent you flowers. Hopefully, you got them.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't even downstairs. I know I was on the phone all day today. My daughter saying to me, Mom, you're not taking the day off. I said, no, too many things to do.
See, and even me going through whatever I'm going, we are not stopping. Are we incredible?
No. I just tell people, don't make excuses, just do it.
Exactly. I love you. I love you, Natasha. Okay, so let's speak today about my probiotics, about microbiota, how to restore. I don't have my notes because we just moved and set the table here.
Yeah, we did have a question from a viewer that saw us on the recent show you and I did. And she's talking about the Super Gut book and Dr. William Davis. And all I said is that, look, there's going to be a lot of shocking information coming out. First of all, I have to explain that many of my colleagues acknowledge that virtually 50% or more of the clinical data and even the scientific data published is false. And so the understanding of probiotics has taken me 6 decades of intense work. And I'm not saying that doctors are not qualified scientists, but they don't have an expertise in culturing or fermenting foods. You can read all the data you want, but fermentation is an art and a science. And all I'm saying is that, with all due respect to Dr. Davis, the fact that he's telling people to make yogurt with the wrong organism at
Yes.
home is a worry to me because most people don't understand anything about fermentation in our culture. And what I'm worried about is that people are contaminating that because they're not doing the proper procedure. And plus, using one organism to grow in milk is not really feasible because yogurt is made by two bacteria. One is what we call a food streptococci that sort of prepares the ground for the bulgaricus, which is a lactobacillus, to grow. All he's doing is he's taking a lactobacillus and trying to have it grow by itself in a milk. There's no direct directions and to preheat the milk or to create a viable environment for this bacteria to want to grow. They're not going to grow because you throw them in some, medium and say, oh, it's going to grow. And that's what my concern is. And most importantly, the bacteria that he's recommending, he's going to be telling you is that bacteria able to inhibit bifidobacteria? Because some lactobacillus are able to inhibit bifidobacteria. So you're eating this food, hopefully you're not getting a high potency, so you're not going to be able to inhibit the bifidobacteria. But taking advice from someone, it's like me tomorrow saying, oh, I've done my literature search and I'm going to tell you about brain surgery. That's about how, competent this information is. Just saying that one organism is fine, not knowing how it interacts with a very complex ecosystem inside your GI tract is a disservice. And I don't know if this person has done any damage, the one who wrote to me. I have no idea. I don't know what she ate, what she took, but I see that there's a huge, huge disconnect. People don't understand fermented food from real probiotic organisms, how they're grown, stabilized, and concentrated. And so this misinformation is not helping us because we've got 80% chronically ill people in this country, 60% chronically ill children, and we're not seeing the numbers get better. And it's because people are looking for a magic cure to a very complex problem. And we're used to quick fixes to something that doesn't work. We were on my birthday celebration yesterday, even though my birthday is actually today.
Hey,
But
today's your birthday. I know it's
thank
today.
you. We had a deep conversation about how your mind is very powerful and that your mind, creates realities that you may want or you don't want. And not understanding, what you need to do is the biggest problem, I think, facing our society. There's too much misleading information. There's too many people talking about parasite cleanses without understanding what's really going on in the GI tract. They're giving these simplistic solutions to a very complex problem. I don't care what your name is. I don't care if you've got 2 PhDs, 3 PhDs, and a doctorate. If you haven't spent the time understanding this from the fermentation process to its application, you don't know. You really don't know. And I've dealt with enough doctors to know that they may know something about probiotic bacteria, but not enough to really make a difference.
What you say, that it's like, oh, I've read this literature, now I can build a space shuttle and I'm ready to fly to the moon.
Yeah,
It's not so easy, and
no.
that's and we live in the society where people think that we know everything, and we don't really need to dive in, and whatever we know, it's enough to live this life. And that's what I feel like this. I think people who are coming to our live show are actually need to dance, because here they learn about the truth. We
Mhm.
are all to spread about truth, and you just really need to appreciate everyone who are joining here live, appreciate this knowledge. And I'm telling you, I love to say that Natasha's family been doing this 300 years. Now I learned it's a 600 year. So you
750 years in my father's Macedonian family. And look, I learned about fermentation. It's a completely incredible science, very complex. And that's a different skill set than understanding the literature. So you have to, in order to be an expert, you not only have to understand the literature, you have to understand how these bacteria fermented, what they want to survive, what they want to thrive. They're not stupid. This is what I tell people. You think by throwing a label on something and calling it kefir, it's a real kefir? No. Throwing a label on a yogurt that it's a real yogurt? No. There's nobody watching any guidelines. That's why we have a huge problem. And the public is so misinformed, they don't really know anything. They're,
right.
misled by so many things. I tell people, look, you're all against dairy. It's not the problem of the dairy, it's the problem of how the dairy is derived. You don't have the same problem with dairy or bread in France and Italy and Germany and Switzerland. You have a problem in this country. And we're putting in new foods in our diet that we have no experience or background with. I'm not saying anything against coconut oil, but coconut oil is used in settings where there's a lot of moisture, comes from Polynesia. It's done in certain Asian countries. So now we're all switching to coconut oil without knowing how our gut microbiome is going to react to that.
Yep.
You know, I agree. We made a huge mistake by trying to make margarine and telling people butter was bad for you. I agree with that. I agree that some seed oils are bad. I don't agree that every seed oil is bad. And this is the shift. People make arbitrary commentary, and this whole industry shifts back and forth. Oh, now you can eat this, now you can't eat that. I think we have to have a complete, honest conversation with everybody and say, look, certain people become allergic to certain foods because they have this disturbance in their gut. And even normal foods that they used to be able to eat because of the chemical substances that are in these normal foods were no longer to eat. So we switched to different foods. But sooner or later, if we don't understand what we're doing wrong with the original foods, we're going to have the same problem with the new foods. It's going to get to the point where nobody's going to be able to eat anything.
Well, we have so many cases right now that on every single, even just a couple hours ago, I received a message from a wonderful woman, and she said whatever she eats, she feels bloated. Whatever she's doing, and it's like all the time mucus,
Mhm.
and have a digestive problem and gas and bloatness. So yeah, that's and I do feel and honestly, we all of us suffering from this. Honestly, if we look, our children having these issues, and our grandchildren having we are living in an absolutely toxic society, and we're trying now to learn the basics. And what the beauty is that we here meeting, why we're doing this meeting, so teach the people that it's not about another supplement, but you really need to restore your gut flora. And once you restore your gut flora, then you can actually now start digesting and processing the food. And that should be very simple for everyone. But in reality, as you said, too much information takes us everywhere. And now people who
Yeah.
never ate Chinese food, now they eat Chinese food. People who never ate dumplings, now they're eating dumplings. It's like people who ate rice and now switching to other kind of rices, or they figure out that maybe we should eat quinoa, where in their life they never tried to eat quinoa. So it's really going back to your roots, learning about your
Yeah.
ancestors, learning about your ancestral diet, and then from there continuing. And the microbiota is number one. That's the base for all. Once you create a good microbiota by using a proper probiotic, and that's like, this is, I'll never really speak, will stop talking and speaking about that, educating, because without good microbiota we are done.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what actually happens in the COVID time, that people their bifidobacteria in the gut being destroyed. That's why so many people are sick, and bifidobacteria isn't one of the most important ones to keep us safe. Our immune system, everything is working. If this done, it's this bacteria wiped out, then we done. And I actually, what you mentioned last time when we've been together on the Robert Scarbell show, you said something that really settled in my mind when you said the glyphosate that was invented and the first time was actually invented for the cows. Why for the cows? Listen, people, you really have to listen to this. It really stuck in my mind, and it's like an art. Why they invented the glyphosate? Well, to make sure when the cow eats the food that contains the glyphosate, it will destroy the bacteria that keeps the cow slim. Do you understand what they did? I mean, I have now my hair standing just
Yeah.
by realizing this.
Yeah, that's a good point because glyphosate was first patented as a very potent antibiotic. And antibiotics have been used in feed, animal feed, for decades now. And why do they use animal feed? Not just to so-called keep the animals healthy, but they found out when they feed antibiotics, the cattle gain a lot of weight and they retain water. So what are the cattle sold for when they're slaughtered? They're sold by weight.
Yes.
So the farmer learned, oh, if I give these antibiotics on a daily basis, either through glyphosate or what they eat, or additional antibiotics in their feed, they're going to gain this weight. And they're going to get water. So when they're weighed in, I'm going to make a lot more money. That's what happens to a lot of us when we have abuse of our body, when we've been on a lot of antibiotic doses. We also gain weight. we also retain water, and we also retain bloat.
And I
And
also add to it, Sam,
yeah,
and I would also add to this point, it's not only, and some people can be even very slim and still have the same problems, meaning not, I don't want people just think, oh, because I'm fat. No, for some people, because we are individual,
yes.
can be that you can be like this, you can be so skinny, but still suffer from the same issues. So so yeah, continue, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, it's true, because I deal with people who are literally, almost anorexic looking
Right.
because their body cannot digest and absorb everything. So that's the ultimate other side of the coin. When people ingest too many doses of antibiotics without replenishing the flora. And by the way, chemotherapy is the use of a very potent antibiotic substance, because chemotherapeutic drugs are antibiotics.
Right.
And so people need to understand, the problem is the dumbing down of the public. They don't understand anything. They jump on the latest thing that somebody tells them, because their attention span is like for 2 seconds, sometimes 3 seconds. Okay. So they don't really understand anything in depth, and nobody wants to take the time to explain anything, because there's no money in explanation.
Absolutely agree.
And that's why they don't want to explain, because sometimes I have to keep hours of my time to help people who have issues, because they're so brainwashed they can't understand what I'm telling them. And this is the God's truth, and it's a tragedy, and that's why I'm staying. Today I celebrate 78 years of being on this planet. And the reason I still have a mind, I think, and we all have issues, but luckily, knock on wood, I don't have too many issues. I'm still able to function every day. I'm able to get up. I'm able to teach. And believe me, we all have to do that. Our country, our world needs a lot of attention, love, and support. We are in the process of extinction. I don't think people understand. If we destroy this relationship with the bacteria, because of our ignorance, we destroy ourselves as Homo sapiens. Bacteria were put on this planet. They're essential in animal health. They're essential in human health. They're essential in eco health. Everywhere on this planet you have bacteria, and they're the first survivors of any kind of catastrophe that happens, whether you have a Chernobyl, whether you have radiation, there are always species that adopt very quickly and survive. So there's even bacteria that were taken off spaceships on the outside of the spaceship, not inside. So what I'm telling you is, we cannot fool around and take nonsense information and try to help a culture that is suffering from multiple chronic illnesses. Our children, our teenagers, our adults, our elderly, they're all suffering from incredible problems that we've never seen before.
Absolutely, and that's why we have this Monday meeting, and I feel like it's a huge privilege, and people really need to learn, and will never stop till people will realize that it's one of the most important things. Once we mess up with the bacteria, we're done, and that's what happened. People thought that it's good to mess with a little bit, and it's good to give cows some glyphosate, some antibiotic. Now they can sell them for a much higher price, but in the realization it can cause more damage, and to us, because we eat. And you need to understand, in simplified method, the baby born from the mom who been already who is already not healthy because her microbiota been destroyed by either through vaccines or through whatever, through even the simple diet. You drink milk that's has a hormones inside. You might say, why? Well, because just use your common sense. If the cow is not eating what is designed to eat, and then it eats a food that it's not tolerable for her digestion, the cow is not healthy. Then they impregnate cows all the time. So listen here, it's not that we're saying do not eat milk and do not have milk. No, what I'm trying to create the picture that you understand in reality what happens. So this poor cow now delivers first the baby, which is inseminated artificially, okay, let's put it this way, and then they feed, and then instead feed the baby, she feeds us, let's say, and then she getting pus and all this mucus, and because it's non-stop, they don't give break to these cows. So that's why it's important to understand that's where the issue comes. And the same thing comes with the meat. The meat has antibiotics because they eat in such a filthy conditions. They lie down in a poop instead lying down in a beautiful green pasture, and that dirt and all this stuff, toxicity, and then when injected with antibiotics, they might say no, but they say antibiotic free. Not always. They don't need to disclose which antibiotic. They might use one or two. It's enough to destroy the microbiota in their gut.
Yep.
And then go to chickens. They've been, as soon they've been born, they've been vaccinated, they've been chipped and whatever. Then eggs. The poor chickens sitting in the way in these small cages, and they're just pooping those eggs. I even don't call them eggs. This is a suffering product. This is not even a food, and this food will pass to you and to your child. Then you get sick, you go to the doctor, and instead the doctor look at your microbiota, check what the hell is happening, figure out what about your food. Do you eat a clean food, or you eat toxic food? And then he will just prescribe you another course of antibiotic because of your UTI or whatever. And then you deliver this baby, and the baby already has weakened immune system. And then what you do? Oh, I cannot feed, I cannot nurse my baby because I am lacking of milk. So then you put him on what? On the corn syrup and some sort of a milk, which is already destroying the microbiome. Do you understand? That's how we roll. And guess what happens? The third generation is already so weak. We have children born and already have eczema, so much tongue ties, so many issues that we have, right? Tongue tie, whatever it's called.
Yeah, they can't speak, they can't communicate, and they may be on the spectrum of autism or not, but we have the diseases are so prolific. We don't even have names for them.
Right.
And that's the problem. And I want to tell you that the other big problem we have, besides of our food supply, is that we have no regulation in the dietary supplement field. There's also no regulation in the fresh foods that they're selling you as fermented foods. The only thing they know is that the labeling is okay. But I have to tell you, there's a huge disinformation being generated, and it's not helping our population. First of all, as the author of the two probiotic labeling standards, I can just tell you now that the stuff that you're buying off the shelf, the stuff that's being mailed to you, is not helping you because number one, there's no knowledge in the formulation. It's one thing. They're throwing a lot of bacteria together. They're putting it on the label without understanding that bacteria don't tolerate each other unless they have symbiosis. And symbiosis is rare. So what we're doing, we don't even know how to select the correct probiotic product. We're just seduced by advertising. People don't understand that, what the labeling means or what bacteria should be in there. Oh, it's got a lot of bacteria. It must be good for me. Oh, look at this fermented food. It's listing all this bacteria. Maybe it's in there, maybe it's not. Maybe the bacteria hate each other. They're spoiling the food. It's not even a good food for you to take. There's absolutely a chaos is the only thing I can say. Chaos in labeling, chaos in understanding, and a sick society needs definite information that is meant to help each and every person get better. It's not about selling you product. It's not about spending the most amount of money. Marketing is propaganda. Most people don't understand that. Marketing came from the world of propaganda. What is propaganda? It's not necessarily telling you the truth. It's there to convince you of whoever's trying to tell you what truth they want you to believe. There's a
Absolutely.
big difference. That's what propaganda is.
Yeah, and we are not realizing because we're living in a fast world where the food is delivered to us, and we don't think about all this stuff. And actually, I might say that I just left the relationship, and sometimes I look back and like, Chava, don't you see there was messages, but I would just ignore them. And I'm like, no, tomorrow will be better because that's how I am. And that the same thing can be applied to this. Like we say, oh no,
Yes.
just take, I don't know who created. I know I've heard here, there some thoughts, but I'm not sure whatever will happen. We'll just try. But in reality, it's not good and it doesn't bring us to the right place. So it's
Right.
we really heal, you need to go back to basics. And the basic is that what we are teaching. And that's why it's so important to really continue speaking about it and really putting our voice out there so that people will really understand. And I know for someone it might take a day to receive this message, and for someone it might take 10 years, or for someone it might be in 30 years. And one
Mhm.
day, when me and you will not be alive, but will our
Oh,
grandchildren might listen to these videos and say, oh, now we understand. And you know what? The life was worth it, because as long with speaking the truth will prevail. And I always say there's so many people in this business, they think it's just a fun. It's just like, oh, another label, another fat check from ignorance of people. But by the end, it will not survive, because we are the people who speaking the truth. I don't not interested in your money. Trust me, we are interested on healing communities. And every
yeah.
day that I wake up, I say, Chava, why I couldn't be the mother that I wanted to be? Well, because I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the knowledge. I wish I had a woman like a Natasha, or let's say if I even had the time, if I had mom who would just teach me and pass me this knowledge that was passed through generations. But that's okay, we're not looking back. And that's what I'm saying, this is the beauty, that we're training and educating you, that you will be so happy that you have a good foundation. You have here a woman who for so many years is spreading the truth. Don't you feel secure? I feel so secure that I have you here, because yes, there's so much propaganda, and each doctor will figure out their own probiotic, and they're going to start playing with the bacteria, and then maybe after many years they'll say, oh, we made a mistake. Well, but the damage is done.
Yeah,
Now,
bacteria are very smart, and you're right. Spiritually, we all have the capacity to know the truth when we hear it. So I'm not interested in convincing everybody. I just need to convince enough people that what we're trying to do is help them. And we all need money to survive and have a good business. It's not about just making money. I was just thinking about this, and what people are really engaging in today's business is what I call psychological murder. They're actually only pushing the making of money without any responsibility of how they're earning that money. And to me, that's not helping people. That's, like I said, going to a foot doctor and expecting him to be a neurosurgeon when he doesn't have the capacity to understand what a neurosurgeon does. And that's exactly what we're doing. Just because somebody talks to you, oh, I know the body, but what part of the body do you know, and what is your specialty? How many how many surgeries did you perform? How many people did you help? That's about what's going on in this entire supplement industry. Right now, I'm sure things have not changed, that 80% of the dietary supplements you're buying don't contain the ingredients that are listed. We have a country in a critical crisis. We have chronically ill people that are medicating themselves to death, and we don't have functional people. We have sick children. We have sick young people committing suicide in their 20s. We have a we have a crisis, and people are just distracted every moment. We got to stop it. We got to learn what is the truth here. Who's been in business for 44 years and never been sued for the product hurting them, never had a complaint against them? I have 70 to 80% of the people staying with us that buy our products. It's not about selling anybody a product. We have a problem. We need to face it. I would love to have good competition. That is my desire, because I couldn't possibly take care of everybody. But the problem is, if we have no standards and nobody knowing how to apply the standards, the chronic illness is going to get worse. We're spending 76% of the money in this country for all the pharmaceutical drugs that are sold in the world. And yet we're only 4.5% of the people. How is that possible that our population needs this billions and trillions of dollars of money that's spent on pharmaceutical drugs, but we have the sickest population? We
Yeah.
have the most polluted food supply. You
Yeah.
know, people who can't eat gluten here can go to Europe and have bread. Why is that? Why aren't we changing this? And taking out a red dye out of a food is good start, but my God, we've got 10,000 other chemicals we got to deal with. So when I tell people, if you wait for them to take out the chemicals, you may be here for another 30, 40 years. But those chemicals are destroying your microbiota, your microbiome. And there's not just the microbiome in your gut. The microbiome is in your head. The microbiome is in every organ. It's on your skin. You are a hybrid of bacteria and human cells. And it's very important for people to understand what they're doing to affect people's health. There's too much misinformation. There's too much marketing, propaganda to assure people of something that's absolutely not true. And it doesn't come just from the people selling the products. It comes from doctors who don't understand this in depth. They just read some 2 or 3 articles and then they assume they know something, and then they proliferate that information and people believe it because they have some kind of a title. So it's a complete restart of our society. We have to understand, the health food industry started with people who were experts in their field, who dedicated their lives to learning everything about their field. It was not about having line extensions of products. I just learned the other day, some company selling herbal products has 8,000 products on the shelf. I
Yes.
said to people, how do you even guess that these people know what the heck they're selling? 8,000 items, one company, and it's all herbal. And people are buying it because the price is right and they're being told the story, but they have no clue what they're ingesting. So the whole purpose of what Hava and I are doing is we want to, number one, empower women, because women are the ones who are the nurturers, are the ones who are here to inform the next generation, to teach the children, and to really take an interest in our health. And a society that steps away from that circular motion of mothers and fathers interacting in the family are setting themselves up for a lot of mental and physical problems. And the mental problems generate more physical problems, and the physical problems generate more mental problems. And it becomes a loop in our society where we have children who don't have a desire to live anymore.
Right.
What kind of a society are we building that we are not able to create a loving and a solid society by the information we give the children, by the love we have in the family, by the food that we consume on a daily basis? We're consuming food that was generated by the last bit of information we heard. We don't have any power of discernment. We really don't know who to believe anymore. So it's about, that's why I'm doing this Instagram with you, because I think your heart is in the right place. I think we need to get the women organized who want to have a family, who want to have a normal life. We need to reset the whole fiber of society in the United States.
And we
It's
will.
been completely destroyed.
We will. We will. I feel so strongly about that. I'm sometimes I feel like that's why the God put me on this mission, because, I feel like this is my calling and I'll never stop. And there will be army of mothers who will learn basics of natural healing. They will
Right.
also learn about herbs and the microbiota, even how to making your own remedies. This is a simple basics that need to be taught in every home. It's simplified. We don't ask doctors, we don't ask parents to be a doctor or to be now PhDs. We're asking to people just use common sense, learn basic skills, and understanding the way the body speaks with you. And once you figure out that you're on the right, you will feel so free. You're gonna feel you will feel freedom. You feel like you no longer need to be binded to these chains of these pharmaceuticals. It breaks my heart when you see people that at age like even your age, right? They're taking 10, 15, 20 different medications, and then they're so chained to this system, and there is no light in their life because they're walking basically a life dead. And that's a big problem. And it's time to take responsibility and also to understand that we have the tools. Once you restore your microbiota, then you send the proper herbs, then you treat physical, emotional, and you restore yourself. It's not complicated. And yes, people are suffering because they've been misguided, because they're just touching something on the top. They're just that never going back to the main root of the problem. Once you figure out that eczema, acne, bad thoughts, everything starts from your gut flora, from the way you digest and process the food. This is the foundation. Do you understand? If you eat carrot and you cannot digest and process, then you feel bloated. That shows you there is a problem. And many times, people would come and tell me, Carla, but I don't have any problem. I move my bowels every day. Yes, but why did you come to me? Oh, yes, because I actually had the UTI infections. Also, they even don't understand that even UTIs are side effect of imbalanced microbiota.
Yes.
And that's how it starts. Everything that happens in your body is because you're lacking an essential bacteria. Once you're lacking essential bacteria, then there is a problem in your system. So that's how it works. This is in a simplified matter. Once you figure out the base, and now because we've been destroyed, now it's time to restore. Now maybe we should just give you few suggestions. Let's go back and give them few tools for today. Which microbiome, which bacteria we should work with,
Okay.
bacteria we should
All right.
avoid.
So,
And
so, uh, so that everybody understands, I've been in this field 60 years. I started with my family's business. My father brought his recipes for making yogurt and liquid acidophilus from the old country, meaning from the former Yugoslavia. He's of Macedonian background, and as I say, his family's been in fermented foods for 750 years. So when we came here, we had to teach people basics. And what I tell people, because bacteria are so smart, I only deal with bacteria that have been in the literature for at least 100 years and are found in many societies across the world, not just inside the United States. And that's why I stuck to acidophilus, because acidophilus has been in the literature for at least 100 years. It is the primary bacteria that's found in our small intestine. It's helped millions of people before we even knew about bifidobacteria. And why do I know that? Because my family sold the liquid acidophilus, one of the first ones in the United States to introduce it, and we were helping people every day. And then I was the first one to introduce bifidobacteria. For almost 10 or more years, people didn't even know what I was talking about. That this is a bacteria that loves to live without oxygen. Where is there no oxygen in your body? In your large intestine. So they're going to thrive there. They're not going to go in your urinary tract. They're not going to go in your mammary glands. They're not going to go somewhere where they don't need to go. Okay. They will go where they feel it's the best for them to go. So you have to understand each bacteria in its function before you even attempt to formulate. Then now you have your small intestine and your large intestine inhabitants covered. Then my third bacteria that I introduced was the primary yogurt bacteria that was called the longevity bacteria more than 100 years ago. This bacteria is incredible because it stimulates the killer cells and the T cells, which is your first line of defense from any disease attack in the body. And they also help the only bacteria out of 3 in the entire probiotic world that can actually pre-digest your food for you. You have an upset stomach, this bacteria helps you with digestion, helps you with breakdown, assimilation. Very important function. And it may stay with you and may not stay with you, depending how desirable your environment it is for it to stay. And then the fourth bacteria I introduced was the one that I had the most difficulty explaining to people. It was called the Bifidobacteria infantis. And still now today, people are talking about it. Let me assure you that 90% of the people that list this bacteria on their ingredient statement don't have it inside their product
If
because it's a very difficult bacteria to grow and stabilize. I
if
know because I've made it
if you see
for,
people, if you see the, sorry that I cut you,
you know,
the people will go into their supermarket and they will see on yogurt says bifidobacteria. No, that's not true because bifido
not
can
true.
in yogurt. So do you understand the simple thing? Everyone who is listening to us now, you're welcome to go to your local health food store and just go read. And if you see that there is a mention bifidobacteria, then you need to understand they're actually stating something that cannot be alive. Do you
Right.
understand? That's a simple thing. Just, I'm telling you. Now probably we'll see 100 people running to the market checking all the yogurts, but that's true.
Yeah,
And
there's bacteria shouldn't be in there because that's not a desirable environment and
yeah,
it's not going to waste its energy to impress us. So I wanted to finish about Bifidobacteria infantis. It is the most important bacteria for newborn infants and also for sensitive people of all ages. And what's been happening in our country as far back as 25 years ago. Now they don't want to publish new data, and I suspect it's far worse. And then when that data was published, only 7% of mothers in North America that give vaginal births were able to successfully transmit Bifidobacteria infantis to their newborn infant, which then breast milk was designed to stimulate that bacteria. And I'm telling you from the research that I have done, I feel the loss of this bacteria in the newborn infant is the cause of the primary problems we have because that's one of the very few bacteria that can actually teach your immune system when to go down and when to go up. What's called down regulation and up regulation, meaning that it teaches the body to tolerate food so the body can be properly nourished. And it also teaches the body when it has to be on alert when there's a problem. Without this education in the intestinal tract, when you're born, you're going to have allergies, which people don't even understand what allergies come from. You're going to have food sensitivity. You're going to have asthma. You're going to have breathing problems with the children. You're going to have hundreds of problems because that initial formation that needs to take place once the infant is born has not taken place. And this bacteria is very difficult to grow. And I'm telling you, if you don't understand who you're buying this bacteria from, it's going to do you no good. And everybody, I think, today in the United States needs to also include this bifidobacteria in some form of supplementation because I believe everything has been wiped out. Uh, Not by the proper use of antibiotics, by the abuse of antibiotics. I remember having conversations even 20 years ago with pediatricians who came in and said, I had to prescribe antibiotics because the parent demanded it. They said, my child is sick. You got to give me some antibiotics. I
I,
said, what? Are you kidding me? Did you ever tell them what they need? No doctor is going to tell you, oh, go get some probiotics. And I said, that's like somebody comparing my probiotics, which is a space shuttle, to a crop duster. You
yeah.
can't go out and just get bacteria to put in your child, for God's sake. And you shouldn't be buying bacteria to treat a symptom like colic. They're giving a very strong bacteria that actually destroys bifidobacteria to treat colic. I said bacteria should never be used to treat a symptom. You have to understand that they've got other agendas. They're not going to only do what you think that they need to perform. They have other agendas. And that's how we make mistakes because we're so trusting that doctors understand what bacteria are. They may understand bacteria that they need to kill with an antibiotic, but they certainly don't have the understanding which bacteria need to be reintroduced to the body that will actually cover the small and large intestine.
I think what you said it's very important. We should go over this at least 1,000 times because that really gives us a clear picture. The baby is born is lacking the bifidobacteria, then it's having all the eczema, acne, whatever they have
Yeah.
in their life, and actually I would say the acne, it's just a side effect because it's never been treated in them while they've been children. So that's
Yeah.
they really need to understand. Once you, it's not something that suddenly happened. Many times people think that even cramping in females or other mental issues, they're just pop out nowhere. Oh, poor guy, it's just happened. It's not happened in a day. There was
Yes.
always small messages that been ignored, or then they've been treated like you said, just like some touch-ups.
Yeah, yeah, don't bother me with the information. I really don't want to deal with it. So let's just, reiterate. Number one, we have a crisis in our country. Number two, virtually 90% of people selling product don't know what the heck they're selling. They just, reading data and they're selling you the product. The problem is starting with the newborn infants, and it's not getting any better. I suspect that very few, if maybe even less than 1% of the infants are getting the bifidobacteria infantis. It's very important that you know why it's called infantis, because it's the essential bacteria to set up the environment with the immune system, absorption, utilization of caloric intake, your mind health. The skin only erupts as a secondary way with the body excreting toxins. The body was designed to digest food, to excrete the toxins, to nourish the immune system, and to have a stable relationship between the bacteria and the immune system. Once this very critical unit has been disrupted, you get hundreds of diseases depending on your weakness. And all we do is we label those diseases without understanding the cause. So we're treating the disease state, but we're not treating the cause of the disease.
Correct. And I actually never seen the cases of a very, very young babies who already having parasites. And just recently, I've heard a case that the baby already has parasites. Usually, the
Mhm.
children would get parasites maybe at age 2, 3, 4, but I've never heard the cases where the baby still in the diaper already have parasites. That just shows us such an imbalance in the gut flora. Would you
Well,
like to speak
and
about?
yeah, and it's gonna lead to a host of diseases. And that's what I'm saying. We have to now establish the criteria because many people confuse parasites with other infections. And we have to know exactly what a parasite is. And that's again the misinformation that's going on. And I said to people, if you're calling things parasites, parasites, have a specific definition in the microbiology world. So first of all, I think we have to establish a definition before we call something a parasite. It could be just a bad bacteria. So there's, like I said, there's so much misinformation floating around. The bottom line is, guys, we have sick children, we have sick teenagers, we have sick adults, we have sick elderly, and we're not getting them better. And you have to ask your question. It's not for the lack of pharmaceutical drugs. And I'm not telling anybody not to go to their doctor. If they want to go to their doctor and they want to engage in a conversation about their health, that's their privilege. But I'm telling you, decades of this has led to us to a nation that it's on its knees. Because if you have 80% of your population chronically ill, you've got a very serious problem. Very serious problem.
Natasha, how you would treat the babies who have already, this small parasite? They're not, how they call them, I forgot. Usually babies get them. Each time I forget their name. The small white,
It's
okay.
okay. It doesn't matter what that's why I
How,
have the product
how we would treat these babies? Let's just
with
start.
the LifeStart Pro. You got to start with the Bifidobacteria infantis, and then if we have to, we can add the acidophilus in small quantities because acidophilus is a more agile organism to fight, pathogens or organisms that can cause harm to the body. But the point is, we start with the Bifidobacteria infantis, and we do it at least 4 or 5 times a day. You take small doses and stretch them out. I'm
Okay,
not trying to.
let's go over this again. So it's very important because I see people that I do know they have this issue. So then they're gonna go on a live start, and they're gonna go on a live start probiotic, and they're gonna start very small amount and introducing this through the day 4 times a day. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, 4 or 5 times. You know what it is, that as many times as you breastfeed, if you're breastfeeding, I tell her put it on your nipple, let the baby suckle it off, so it's constantly in there. If you don't have the time, you know, we tell you start with a quarter teaspoon, a half a teaspoon. You have to sort of use your native intelligence. If the child is too small, then we start with very smaller doses. The point is, it's not going to hurt them. And if you're breastfeeding, mix it a little bit with the breast milk. Make sure that all the lumps are gone. It's the same thing if you're feeding with formula. Mix it with a little bit of the formula. Make sure all the lumps are gone, so
Right.
that it doesn't plug up, you know, the bottle and the nipple. So just figure it out. It just takes a couple of minutes more of your time.
Exactly. You can even use a simple dropper, glass dropper,
Yes,
and that,
yes,
yes. And so you mix it and you start giving few drops here, few drops, and that's the base. You start from the base instead right away giving the child herbs that might right away kill all the parasites and blah 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 blah. Maybe we should first restore the gut flora, and that should be the beginning. So before we jump in giving to the child black walnut or garlic or echinacea or any of those herbs, we will start
sorry.
first giving. You start first giving the probiotic, restore the micro, and it's very crucial for you to understand, because first why they came into the picture, because there is an imbalance.
Yep.
And there is an imbalance. That means there is a bad bacteria overpowering the good bacteria, right? It's so
It's
simple.
not only that, herbs can also kill good bacteria. I don't care what anybody says.
Right,
And
correct.
and when you in and I'm a big proponent of herbs, but it's everything at the right time in the right place for the right condition.
Absolutely. I remember the specific case that actually it's a very severe case of a 4-year-old who had a lot of parasite. Like and the doctors gave her 2 times treatment, and the parasite will still come out. They're like been everywhere in her poop and in her in her whatever. So that was like everywhere, and they didn't understand what is happening. And when the mom contacted me, I said, do you see the body trying to tell you something? There is something off balance. So
Hmm.
but they went, yeah, but I feed my child very healthy. I said, yeah, okay, maybe healthy from your perspective, but maybe not from the child perspective. There's something wrong. Obviously, people would not listen, and they follow the doctors. And guess what? After 3 times doing parasite cleanse, this girl got diabetes for
Oh,
her pancreas shut down. So I'm saying, okay, so the parasites, let's say with the parasite, they came into the picture to remove the garbage that was building up at a certain area. Because what are the parasites? They're coming there, they're covered. They're coming to remove a toxic matter that's building up. So basically, parasite is not the bad guy. They're there to help you. So now we're gonna kind of restore this misconception that people think that all parasites are bad. No, they're going there. They basically like a duster. They're coming to clean the garbage, and they're just removing and munching on whatever there is left over. And if you do not listen to this main base of this issue, then you're going to create a problem. And what the parents did, and what the doctor, instead to reintroducing good bacteria, helping the body to restore what it needs the tools to kill. She's
that's
been
right.
severe detoxes. It caused all the parasites to go, and guess what happened? The pancreas shut it off. And now this girl is dependent on insulin. She's been months and months in hospital. And my heart breaks because we don't listen, and then we suffer. And that's why now when you have the issue, now that you're hearing us speaking, when you see the parasite, right away, a bulb, what's happening? The light, oh, my daughter, my son, whoever, me, lacking good microbiota, let's restore it.
Yeah,
Right? Put the baby
right,
on the Lifestart Pro as the beginning.
right.
Continue.
And yeah, and I'm going to say that, you know, we need to have a re-education actually of the whole population, because I see a crisis. It's not an imagined crisis. It is a true crisis because too much information, inaccurate information, and we're not getting people better. I can assure you that everybody that's dealt with me has gotten better. They've never gotten sick from taking the product. That's what the number one rule is, that you must try to restore. The body is not defective. You've made it defective by what we've done, because we are a hybrid of bacteria and human cells. And if we don't understand that, we're going to have continual problems with disease and inability to function. We've come to a very low point with people who are literally brainwashing us that this body is defective and it needs constant, popping. And there's so much misinformation about diet, about food, about anything, that we have to really come back to basics.
Right.
And that's what we're here with you to do, to teach them the basics. I mean, I used to argue with people 50 years ago about plastic containers in health food stores, and people thought I lost my mind. I said, look, why are you selling stuff at all? Glass is too expensive, it's too heavy. I know, but plastics are not healthy. They're not healthy for storing food. And now, after how many years, decades, I've been proven right about these microplastics and how we're actually consuming a whole credit card every week by consuming especially our water and plastics. So that alone is enough reason for you to be taking a good bifidobacteria product that actually survives stomach acid and bile and can do some good in your GI tract. Just this one thing alone, if you've been consuming a lot of stuff with plastic containers, you have a problem, aside from the 100 other problems you may be having. So,
Yeah.
I see some people asking questions. Look, come with your questions next week. Come with your questions next week. And I think you want to say that you're going to be doing this Hanukkah boutique next week on
Yes.
Wednesday. So
Yes.
you can go and see Hava at the Hanukkah boutique. We'll be telling you more about this next Wednesday. And we're here. Ladies, start telling other women we need to support each other. We need to be giving good advice. We have a sick nation. And the fact is that people who are giving you advice are not getting you better. That's my final plea to you. It's not about selling product. It's not about making money. It's about telling you that we got to wake up, because if we kept doing the same thing and we expect better results and we're not getting better results, that's called insanity.
Absolutely. I agree.
So that's my final message to you. I could tell people, wake up, you're alive.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Natasha. And
Well,
I really appreciate it. And happy birthday to you. And
thank you.
hopefully you
Thank
got
you.
my message. And I also send you the flowers from me.
Okay. Thank you, my love. I will see them and I will call you. Thank you to all the ladies. And let's try to make everybody's life better. Hava, you're on your way. You're going to have everything you want. Just focus on positive. That's what I tell the women. Focus on positive. Let's love each other. Let's support each other. And let's build a better world.
Amen. I have nothing else what to say. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
We see you
Bye
next
bye.
week. We don't give up. We don't give up. All
That's
the
it.
best. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye bye.